ever feel like you're carrying around this invisible backpack just crammed with worries?
Oh, yeah.
It's like heavy, you
Yeah,
know? And that's kind of what unmanaged stress can feel like.
definitely.
And, well, let's be real. Everyone feels stressed these days, right? So
Absolutely.
that's why we're going to dive deep into stress management today.
Love it.
We've got some great insights from the Mental Health Foundation and also helpguide.org.
Awesome.
So hopefully by the end of this, we can all feel a little bit lighter, a little less weighed down.
That's good.
So to kick things off, I think it's helpful to define what stress actually is.
Yeah, for sure.
Because we use the word all the time, but
Yep.
what are we actually talking about?
Exactly.
So the Mental Health Foundation describes stress as a natural response to difficult situations,
Which makes sense.
which makes total sense.
Yeah.
But I think it's easy to forget that it's not the situation itself that stresses us out. It's how we react to it.
It is. It's about our perception of the situation
Yeah.
and how we cope with it. So you could have two people stuck in traffic.
Oh, yeah.
One person's like totally freaking out. The other person's listening to a podcast like totally zen.
Yeah.
Same situation, totally different stress levels.
Totally. So is stress ever a good thing then?
That's a good question.
Like, is there a point to it?
Well, actually, yeah. Think of it like this. Stress is your body's way of giving you a boost to deal with challenges.
Okay.
It's like that jolt of energy that helps you meet a deadline
Oh, yeah.
or ace a presentation.
Yeah.
But it's like anything else, too much of a good thing can backfire.
Right. Like you need a little bit of that adrenaline
Exactly.
to kind of get you going.
Yeah.
But too much and it's going to...
It's going to take over.
Yeah, exactly. So how do we know when that helpful jolt of energy has turned into a full-blown stress monster?
Right.
Are there like warning signs that we should be looking out for?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And they're not always as obvious as you might think. Helpguide.org actually lists some unhealthy coping mechanisms that can be red flags, like zoning out on TV for hours, oversleeping, snapping at people.
Oh my gosh.
Ever find yourself doing any of those when things get hectic?
All the time. Especially the TV thing.
Yeah.
Like when I'm stressed, I don't know, I just turn my brain off.
Yeah.
And just watch whatever's on.
It's like a way to escape.
Yeah.
But we don't always connect it to stress. We
Mm.
think, oh, I'm just being lazy.
Totally.
But actually, it's a sign that something's off.
Wow, this is already eye-opening for me.
Yeah.
Because I never really thought of those things as being related to stress. I just thought it was me being a bad person, basically.
Yeah.
So this is good. This is helpful.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
We often don't realize how stress manifests.
Yeah.
And it's not just in your head either.
Okay.
It impacts your whole body.
Right.
Physically, you might get headaches, tense muscles, feel your heart racing. Emotionally, there's irritability, anxiety, that feeling of being totally overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And then there's how it affects your behavior. Difficulty concentrating, sleep changes,
Yeah.
maybe even withdrawing from social events.
It's like a domino effect.
Yeah.
One thing leads to another.
Totally.
Okay, so we're starting to see the signs of stress.
Right.
But what are some of the things that actually trigger this whole cascade of stress in the first place?
Yeah, good question.
The Mental Health Foundation calls out a few usual suspects: relationships, that work-life balance struggle,
Of course.
and money worries.
Big one.
Did anything surprise you on that list?
Not really. Those are pretty universal pressure points.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is how they're being amplified by everything happening around us right now.
Like what kind of things?
Well, the economy, for one.
Yeah.
The constant news cycle. The pressure of social media. It all adds up.
It's true. And you know what? Even positive changes can be stressful.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Like I remember when I got my dream job, I was thrilled but also completely terrified.
Right.
New responsibilities, no people, a
Yeah.
whole new routine. My stress levels were through the roof.
It makes sense, though, right?
Yeah.
Change, even positive change, requires adaptation. And that can be demanding.
Totally. So, okay, we know stress is a part of life. We can't completely avoid it.
Right.
But we also know that too much stress is a bad thing.
Definitely.
So what can we actually do about it?
Well, that's where helpguide.org comes in with their brilliant 4A's framework.
The 4 A's
Avoid, alter, adapt.
and accept.
I love this
Yeah.
because it acknowledges that we can't eliminate all stress, but we can definitely get better at managing it.
It's about taking control,
Yeah.
moving from feeling powerless to feeling empowered.
Okay, so let's break down each of these A's, starting with avoid.
Okay.
What does avoiding stress actually look like in real life? Is it just saying no to everything?
Well, it can involve saying no more often, but it's really about being more mindful of what you let into your life.
Yeah. Are there commitments you can decline? People who drain your energy? Maybe it's time to mute those social media accounts that leave you feeling worse, or limit your exposure to the news if it's causing you anxiety.
So it's about setting boundaries, being proactive about protecting your mental space.
Yes.
Okay, I can see how that would help. What about Ultra That one seems a little trickier.
It can be because it involves actually changing the situations that are causing stress.
Oh, okay.
So it might mean having a tough conversation with someone, negotiating deadlines at work, or setting more realistic expectations both for yourself and for others.
So basically taking control where you can,
Yes,
instead of letting things just happen to you.
exactly.
Okay, I'm getting this. But adapt. How do you actually change your perspective on a stressful situation? Isn't that just pretending things aren't bad?
Not at all. Think of it more like choosing a different lens to view the situation through.
Okay.
Maybe instead of seeing a challenge as a threat, you see it as an opportunity for growth. Or instead of getting bogged down in every little detail, you focus on the bigger picture.
So it's about finding that empowering perspective, that
Yeah,
glass half full outlook.
exactly.
Right.
And finally, we have accept.
Okay.
This one can be the hardest because it involves making peace with things we can't control,
Oh, yeah.
like other people's actions,
Mm.
global events,
Mm-hmm.
even our own past mistakes.
Letting go is hard, though.
It is. It can be really tough.
But I guess it's also about realizing that holding on to anger or resentment just creates more suffering for ourselves, right?
You got it.
Yeah.
And practicing forgiveness, both for ourselves and for others, can be incredibly liberating.
Wow, this framework is so powerful. I feel like I'm already seeing stress in a whole new light.
That's great.
But we've got a lot more to unpack, including some awesome, actionable tips from both of our sources.
Yeah.
So stay tuned for part 2, where we'll dive into specific strategies for putting these 4A's into practice, plus some quick wins for finding calm in the midst of chaos.
Love it. Can't wait.
Me too. Welcome back. I'm feeling a lot more zen already just from talking about those 4A's.
Yeah, they're super helpful.
It's like a roadmap for managing stress.
It is.
But now I'm excited to actually put this knowledge into action.
Me too.
So let's talk about some practical tips for managing stress.
Okay.
Both of our sources, the Mental Health Foundation and helpguide.org, have some amazing advice.
Yeah, they do.
So where should we start?
Or I think one of the most powerful and often overlooked stress relievers is right under our noses.
Really? What is it?
Movement.
Like exercise?
Yeah, exactly.
So how does getting sweaty help my brain chill out?
Well, remember how we talked about stress being your body's fight or flight response?
Yeah.
When you're stressed, your body pumps out hormones like adrenaline and cortisol.
Mm-hmm.
That's what gives you that racing heart, that feeling of urgency. But when you move your body, whether it's dancing, running, or even just taking a brisk walk, you're essentially sending your brain a signal.
What kind of signal?
Hey, we're not running from a tiger, we're just working out.
Like that.
This helps lower those stress hormones and bring your body back into a state of balance.
So it's like hitting the reset button on your stress levels?
Exactly.
That makes so much sense. And the best part is you don't need to become a marathon runner to reap the benefits.
No, not at all.
Even a short walk, a few minutes of dancing, or some gentle stretching can make a difference.
Absolutely.
This is a major relief because, I'll be honest, the idea of exercising to de-stress always felt kind of counterintuitive.
Yeah,
Like just one more thing to add to my already overflowing to-do list.
I get it.
But if we can reframe it as simply moving our bodies in ways that feel good, well, that's a game changer.
It is. It's about finding what works for you, not what you think you should be doing.
Totally. So maybe it's taking the stairs instead of the elevator walking to work, or putting on your favorite music and dancing it out in your living room.
Exactly. Whatever gets you moving and feels enjoyable.
Love it. Okay, so while we're on the topic of things we can easily incorporate into our day, let's talk about sleep.
Oh yes, sleep is so important.
I know I'm definitely more prone to meltdowns when I'm running on fumes.
Oh yeah.
Is that just me being dramatic, or is there a real connection there?
No, you're not being dramatic at all.
Yeah.
When you're sleep deprived, your body produces more of those pesky stress hormones,
Oh, no.
making you more reactive and less resilient to challenges.
Okay, that explains a lot. It's like my emotional reserves are depleted.
Yeah,
So even small things feel like a big deal.
exactly.
So besides the obvious get more sleep advice, are there any practical tips for actually making that happen?
Well, the key is consistency. Try to go to bed and wake up around the same time each day, even on weekends.
Even on weekends?
Yeah, to regulate your body's natural sleep-wake cycle.
I'll admit that's a tough one for me. Weekends are my time to sleep in.
I know it's hard.
But I guess if it means feeling less stressed overall, it's worth a try.
It really is. And creating a relaxing bedtime routine can help signal to your body that it's time to wind down.
Like taking a warm bath, reading a book, or listening to calming music.
Exactly. And one more crucial tip. Avoid screens for at least an hour before bed.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard that the blue light from our phones and laptops can mess with our sleep hormones.
It does. It disrupts melatonin production, which is the hormone that helps regulate our sleep.
Got it. So swapping my pre-sleep Instagram scroll for a good book is probably a smart move.
Definitely. Now let's move on to a topic that often gets a lot of buzz, but can also feel a bit intimidating.
Mindfulness and meditation.
Okay, yeah, I've tried meditation a few times, but my mind always races.
It's common.
I sit down, all I can think about is my grocery list and that email I forgot to send.
I hear you.
But I keep hearing about how great it is for stress. So clearly some people are doing it right.
They are, and the great news is that it doesn't have to be complicated or time-consuming.
Okay, that's good to hear.
Even just a few minutes a day can have a profound impact.
Wow, really?
The key is understanding what mindfulness actually is. It's about bringing your attention to the present moment without judgment.
Instead of dwelling on the past or worrying about the future, you're simply noticing your thoughts, feelings, and sensations as they arise.
So it's about becoming more aware of what's happening inside us instead of letting our thoughts run wild.
Exactly.
Okay, I like that.
And by practicing this awareness, we can start to detach from those negative thought patterns that often fuel stress.
So instead of getting swept away in a tsunami of what ifs and worries, we can learn to observe those thoughts without letting them control us.
Exactly.
I like the sound of that. Are there specific techniques for practicing mindfulness, or is it just about like sitting there and trying to think about nothing?
There are definitely techniques that can help. One simple one is mindful breathing.
Mindful breathing.
Find a comfortable position, close your eyes if you like, and focus your attention on the sensation of your breath as you inhale and exhale.
That seems almost too simple.
I know, but that's the point.
Focusing on something as basic as your breath can help anchor you to the present moment.
It can.
Yeah.
You can also try a body scan meditation, where you bring your attention to different parts of your body, noticing any sensations without trying to change them.
So it's like tuning in to those subtle cues our body is sending us instead of constantly being in our heads.
Exactly. And the more you practice, the more you'll start to notice those early signs of stress and be able to address them before they escalate.
It's like building an early warning system for your stress levels.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm starting to get this. So we've talked about moving our bodies, prioritizing sleep, and dipping our toes into the world of mindfulness.
Right.
What about that last tip, connecting with others? I
Mhm.
know that hanging out with friends always makes me feel better, but is there actually a scientific reason for that?
Absolutely. Helpguide.org talks about how social support is not just a nice to have, it's a crucial buffer against stress.
Really? So it's not just about feeling better in the moment. There's actually something happening in my body when I connect with people.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. When we connect with others, our bodies release oxytocin, which is often called the cuddle hormone or the love hormone.
Okay, I'm already feeling calmer just hearing that.
Oxytocin has a calming effect on the nervous system, reducing stress hormones and promoting feelings of well-being.
So it's like a biological hug.
Yeah, you could say that.
And to think I've been missing out on all these oxytocin boosts just because I've been too stressed to socialize? So what kind of connection are we talking about here? Does it have to be deep, meaningful conversation, or can a quick chat with a coworker also do the trick?
It doesn't have to be anything fancy. Even a quick chat with a coworker, a phone call with a friend, or a simple text message can boost oxytocin levels. It's about feeling seen, heard, and reminded that we're not alone in this.
This is such a good reminder. We often isolate ourselves when we're stressed, but that's actually the worst thing we can do. Reaching out, even in small ways, can make a huge difference.
It really can. And if you're feeling really overwhelmed, don't hesitate to reach out for professional support.
Like a therapist.
Yeah, therapists and counselors can provide a safe and supportive space to process your stress and develop coping strategies.
It's like having a coach in your corner guiding you through those tough moments. Okay, so we've covered moving our bodies, prioritizing sleep, practicing mindfulness, and connecting with others.
Right.
It's a lot of great stuff. What about that last tip we touched on earlier, finding our personal sensory soothers?
Oh, yes.
Is that just about pampering ourselves, or is there more to it than that?
It's definitely about self-care, but it's also a powerful way to tap into your senses, to create a sense of calm and grounding.
Okay.
It's about those little things that bring you joy and help you feel more centered.
So it's like creating a personalized stress relief toolkit
Exactly.
filled with things that work for you. I love that.
It could be anything from listening to your favorite music, to taking a warm bath, to lighting a scented candle,
Yeah.
spending time in nature, looking at a beloved photo.
Wow, the possibilities are endless. I'm already brainstorming my own sensory soother list. It's so cool to realize that we have all these tools at our disposal. We just need to be intentional about using them.
That's the key.
Mm.
And it's important to experiment and find what works best for you.
Right.
What soothes one person might not have the same effect on another.
It's about paying attention to how different sensory experiences make you feel and building a repertoire of calming practices that you can draw on when stress hits.
Exactly. And the more you practice these techniques, the more skilled you'll become at managing stress effectively. It's like building a muscle.
Yeah.
The more you use it, the stronger it gets.
Okay, after all this talk about practical tips and actionable steps, I'm feeling seriously empowered.
That's great.
But I have a feeling there's still one piece missing from this puzzle,
Yeah.
right?
You're right. We talked about the tools. Now it's time to put it all together.
You're talking about creating a personalized stress management plan? I can't wait to hear more about that.
That's exactly where we're headed. In part 3, we'll guide you through the process of identifying your unique stressors, setting realistic goals, and building a sustainable plan that incorporates all the amazing techniques we've discussed today. Stay tuned.
All right, we are back for part 3.
Part 3.
I am so ready to put all this amazing stress management knowledge into action.
Yeah, let's do it.
It's like we've been gathering ingredients for this incredible meal, and now it's finally time to cook.
I love that analogy.
But how do we make sure this plan is something we actually stick with?
That's the key, right?
Because I'm the queen of starting new habits with like the best intentions, and then a week later,
Yeah, you're back to your old ways.
I'm back to my old ways.
It happens.
So how do we avoid that this time?
Well, the first step is to get really honest with yourself about your unique stressors.
Okay.
It's like taking inventory before you go grocery shopping.
Yeah.
You need to know what you're working with before you can create a meal plan.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So for me, it's definitely work deadlines. That feeling of being constantly behind, and also that inner critic that never seems to shut up.
Oh, the inner critic.
Yeah. What about you? What are some of your personal stress triggers?
I'm definitely familiar with that inner critic, but for me, it's often about feeling overcommitted.
Overcommitted.
Saying yes to too many things, and then feeling overwhelmed by all the demands on my time and energy.
Oh, yeah.
And then, of course, there are those universal stressors like unexpected bills, technology meltdowns. Those always seem to throw a wrench in the works.
It's so true. And I think identifying those triggers is like the first step in reclaiming our power.
Absolutely.
Because once we know what we're dealing with, we can start to strategically use those 4 A's we talked about earlier.
Exactly. So take some time to reflect on your typical week and really pay attention to what sends your stress levels spiking.
Okay.
Is it certain people, specific situations? Maybe it's even certain times of day or particular environments that set you off.
So it's like becoming a stress detective. And once we've identified those culprits, we can ask ourselves, okay, how can I avoid this? Can I alter it? Can I adapt to it? Or do I need to accept
You
it?
got it. It's like having a decision-making framework for each stressor.
Yeah.
And don't get overwhelmed trying to tackle everything at once.
Right.
Start with 1 or 2 stressors that feel most manageable and go from there.
This is such a relief. It's about progress over perfection, right?
Absolutely.
Just taking small, consistent steps instead of trying to overhaul our entire lives overnight.
Exactly. And remember, there will be days when you feel like you're rocking this stress management thing and other days when you feel like you're back to square one.
Oh, yeah.
That's totally normal.
It happens.
The key is to keep learning, adjusting, and finding what works best for you.
And that's where those daily habits we talked about earlier come in, moving our bodies, prioritizing sleep, practicing mindfulness, connecting with others, and indulging in our sensory soothers.
Yes.
These are like the foundation of our stress management plan.
They're like the vitamins and minerals that keep our stress resilience strong.
Okay, I like that. So think of these habits as your non-negotiables.
Yeah.
Schedule them into your day, just like any other important appointment.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be a huge time commitment.
Right.
Even a 30-minute walk, 10 minutes of meditation, or even just 5 minutes of deep breathing can make a difference.
And don't underestimate the power of those little moments of self-care throughout the day.
Oh, yeah. Those are important.
Taking a break to step outside and get some fresh air, listening to your favorite song, calling a friend to share a laugh. These little things add up.
They do. It's about being intentional, about creating moments of peace and joy, even amidst the chaos.
And it's not selfish to prioritize our well-being.
Not at all.
In fact, it's essential for showing up as our best selves in all areas of our lives.
So well said. Taking care of ourselves allows us to better care for others and navigate the challenges of life with more grace and resilience.
As we wrap up this deep dive, I'm feeling so inspired and empowered. It's amazing to realize that we have so much more control over our stress levels than we often give ourselves credit for.
We really do.
You've absolutely got this.
We do.
Remember, it's a journey, not a destination. Be patient with yourself, experiment with different techniques, and celebrate those small victories along the way.
And don't be afraid to reach out for support when you need it.
Yes.
Whether it's a friend, a family member, a therapist, or even just a supportive online community, remember that you're not alone in this. We all experience stress, but we don't have to let it control our lives.
Beautifully said. So, as you go forth on your stress management journey, remember that you have the power to choose how you respond to challenges. You have the tools, you have the knowledge, and you have the support.
You do.
Now, go out there and create a life that feels less overwhelming and more fulfilling. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.